On the news, 4 policemen feared dead as suspected herdsmen attack Benue State community. Dalori assumes duty as APC acting chairman, pledges inclusiveness. And Peter Obi agrees to serve 1 term if elected in 2027, vows to hand over to Northern successor. Thank you for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Simisa Latikun. We begin in Benue State, where 4 mobile police officers have been reportedly killed by marauding herdsmen at Ode community in Guma local council area on Sunday. Local sources say the incident occurred around 3 p.m. when police officers responded to a distress call from residents about suspicious movement in the area. The ambush triggered widespread panic, with residents fleeing Udeyi and surrounding areas as gunfire intensified between the armed invaders and a joint security team led by the Nigerian Army. The attack in Udeyi occurred just 16 days after a similar incident in Yelowata community, where numerous villagers lost their lives and several others sustained injuries. In politics, the internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party (PDP) took a fresh turn on Monday as 2 rival factions, embroiled in a dispute over the National Secretary position, held parallel meetings at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja. The conflict centers on the legitimacy of the current occupant of the office, with each faction claiming rightful authority to appoint or retain the National Secretary. Security was visibly heightened around the PDP headquarters, with party supporters from both sides gathering amid fears of a possible confrontation. While both factions claim to be acting within the party's constitution, attempts at internal reconciliation have so far failed to yield results.
Contrary to a purported notice being circulated in the social media suggesting that the 100-neck meeting has been converted to a special expanded national caucus meeting, the NWC states in clear terms that the said notice did not emanate from the PDP and should be disregarded. The NWC emphasizes that there is no provision whatsoever for an expanded national caucus in the constitution of the PDP or any guideline of our party. For the avoidance of doubt, Section 30 of the constitution of the PDP is unambiguous in providing for a national caucus for the party with its composition, functions, and meetings clearly spelled out, leaving no room for any form of expansion.
With me now to help unpack the latest developments in the PDP crisis is a chieftain of the party, Dapo Ikiabo Womit. It's good to have you join us again. Help us make sense now of the unfolding events, including the actions of policemen who allegedly barred BOT members from accessing the Secretariat for the meeting.
Well, thank you for having me. The truth remains that what we have today is not a NEC meeting. And when I saw on your, news bar that is 100 NEC, there's nothing like that, because the national chairman and national secretary, who are the symbols of the party, has sent a circular. The national secretary has sent issue notice for national expanded caucus meeting. And if he has said that, he remains that because he's the national secretary. And those that are claiming that it's NEC, they don't have any signatory value, because today the signatory of the national chairman and the national secretary are what is recognized in any, correspondence outside the party. So for the deputy national chairman South, who only function in the absence of the national chairman, cannot come up to disregard or disrespect the party or, abuse his office by coming up to say that there is no caucus meeting. Look at the tag. If you look at the tag of everybody that is there, even his principal, Che Makinde, is there. And what is on the tag? Expanded caucus meeting. That is the tag everybody is wearing. So it is not an issue. the appropriate authority based on Section 35 and based on Section 36. Based on Section 35, this chairman has the powers to, summon caucus meeting. And based on Section 36, the National Secretary has the powers to issue notice for that meeting. And the National Secretary has issued the notice for an expanded caucus meeting. Maybe our, National Deputy Chairman, South, does not get what they mean by expanded caucus meeting. Other persons are being invited to the meeting because you must follow the due process. He was citing the Constitution, but meanwhile he's flouting the Constitution. How do, in one hand, quote the Constitution, in another breath, flout the Constitution? It is clear it is the national chairman that has the power to summon a meeting. It's the national secretary that has the power to issue notice based on Section 36(1)(b). So what is the, okay, he should tell us his role as Deputy National Secretary. What powers does he have to counter that? At which he will, say based on Section so and so, as the Deputy National Chairman South, I'm empowered to say this. But it's nothing. I want to advise our distinguished Deputy National Vice Chairman, Deputy National Chairman South, that he should be guided with his conscience and the PDP Constitution, not with his ambition because he wants to impress his principal and because he's interested in the Oyo governorship. Investigation has revealed that it's not even among the top three among Seyi Makinde's preferred candidate. So that should not inform him to support illegality, because based on the Constitution, Anyanwu remains the National Secretary and he has issued notice for expanded caucus meeting.
Question: the position of the National Secretary remains a major point of contention, with one section of the PDP opposing Anyanwu's reinstatement. Now, why has this position become so divisive within the party?
No, there is no reinstatement issue. Anyanwu has remained the National Secretary, and if you say reinstatement, I mean he was removed. He was never removed. He never resigned. He has remained the National Secretary of the PDP since he was elected on the 9th and 10th of December 2021 to date. And the Constitution has confirmed it. The Supreme Court has confirmed it. The INEC, the supervisory body of a political party, has confirmed it. When they went, Seyi Makinde was part of the team. Zamfara State Governor, all of them were part of the team. And INEC has said it. Based on your Constitution, Section 47(5) and Section 48(1), in addition to the Supreme Court pronouncement, Anyanwu remains the National Secretary because there is no provision in that Section 47(5) where you said he must compulsorily resign. That is the Part A, and they are arguing of the Part B. The Part B is standing on one leg. He said if you are vying for any office, you shall resign based on what the Congress guideline said, and the Congress guideline has made it clear that you don't have any, you cannot resign. It didn't give condition for anybody to resign. The 2022 Congress guideline does not give any room for any national officer to resign to go and contest election. And if you look at Section 48(1), you win, assuming Anyanwu won the governorship of Imo State, and has not taken oath of office, he can still remain the National Secretary until you take oath of office. That's when you have assumed another office, and automatically Section 48(1) can be activated. So it is just sheer greed, political ambitiousness of some leaders to cause PDP such embarrassment and pain. And I want to advise those leaders to toe the line of those that have retracted their step, like the Bauchi State Governor and others that felt no, Anyanwu should not remain. But they have seen that the law is on the side of Anyanwu, and we cannot, because of a single person or some group of persons, subjugate our Constitution to illegality, to abuse and absurdity. So we will not do that. And that is the true position of the Constitution. And that was what INEC has told our leaders that went to visit them. So Anyanwu has never been out of the office. He has remained the National Secretary, and his tenure will expire by December 2020.
We wait to learn other decisions taken by the party leadership. Mr. Dabo Ikiaba, well made. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure having you on. Still on party matters, following Abdullahi Ganduje's resignation as national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Ali Bukar Dalori has formally assumed office in acting capacity. While addressing the party's National Working Committee on Monday, Dalori said he had accepted the role with humility, a sense of responsibility and loyalty. He pledged to lead with transparency, inclusiveness and unity of purpose, emphasizing that his appointment should not be seen as a personal triumph. President Bola Tinubu and Prime Minister Philip Pierre have both committed to formalizing diplomatic relations between Nigeria and St. Lucia. Both leaders agreed that solidifying these ties would create opportunities for trade, investment, tourism, education, and cultural exchange. Speaking to State House correspondents, Nigeria's Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, says the purpose of the visit is to revive Nigeria's relationship not only with African countries, but also with Caribbean nations.
The meeting with the president was essentially to begin a discussion in trying to reconnect between our different cultures and our different. The president was very particular that Nigeria and most of the Caribbean nations, not even St. Lucia alone, but all the Caribbean nations, we have similar culture, we have similar ambition, and we have similar problems. We strongly believe that if we can sit down, like we are going to do tomorrow, to see how we can begin to connect with each other, to improve on our relationship, to improve the economies, and see where we can both learn from each other. But there are so many things that we have in common. The issue of climate, which I think we have in common, rising sea levels between around our coast, because St. Lucia and most Caribbean islands are basically islands, so they face the same problem that we face in our coastal areas. So we are going to look at that. We are going to look at the area of health provision in both countries. We are looking at the issue of education, because President is going to visit a school, one of their best schools, in the next 2 days to see what they are doing. So that has been what has happened between the president and the governor general. With the prime minister, it was more elaborate, because I think he went through a lot of history. We are both members of the Commonwealth countries, and we are trying to find ways and means of trying to improve the Commonwealth as a whole, because Commonwealth, for what we know, is that it's not actually for this one.
Former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has pledged that he would honor any coalition agreement which could require that he serves a single term and hand over to the North in 2031, emphasizing that his motivation is not personal ambition but national progress. Speaking during a highly attended X-Space session which drew over 10,000 live participants, Obi tackled key national issues ranging from coalition dynamics to President Tinubu's performance. Speaking on coalition politics, Obi emphasized on the need for discipline and integrity in political partnerships, adding that upholding zoning and respecting any agreement within the coalition reflects political maturity. Responding to speculation about a possible joint ticket with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar for the 2027 elections, Obi said no discussions had been held about candidacy. Away from politics to security, Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has reaffirmed the military's unwavering commitment to eradicating terrorism in the country's northeast region. General Musa made this declaration during a high-level operational visit to Maiduguri in Borno State, aimed at reviewing ongoing military operations and assessing the condition of soldiers wounded in action and boosting their morale. TV366 correspondent Solomon Josiah completes the story.
General Musa's visit follows a series of recent insurgent attacks on local communities within the state, which resulted in casualties among the troops. The defense chief emphasizes that sacrifices made by the gallant officers will not be forgotten, reaffirming the armed forces' determination to sustain their operations until lasting peace is fully restored.
Came actually today for two events. One is the peace effort with the students at the University of Maiduguri, which we have inaugurated the Save 1 and 2 teams try to ginger the youth to also wake up and be able to be proactive in the peace process. We want them to also be able to be change makers, to reach out to their fellow youths, to try and encourage them not to join any acts of criminality. Because what we have realized is most of those who are perpetrating these acts are youthful or are young individuals. And so if we capture them and make them understand that, look, they have a future, they shouldn't allow anybody to convince them or deny them the ability to have a peaceful development in their future. And that's what we have done.
During the visit, the theater commander of Operation Hadin Kai, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, expressed appreciation for the defense chief's timely presence. He reiterated the steadfast dedication of the troops to defending Nigeria's territorial integrity, even in the face of recent security challenges.
Appreciating Dr. Paul Odili for the wonderful things that he has done for us today, because our soldiers are our heroes and most people don't really appreciate them. So he's a well-meaning Nigerian, and I hope others will toe the line. Part of our itinerary for today is to also visit that hospital you just mentioned. We are going to do an appraisal of it, do an inspection, and I'm sure some of the equipment that will be donated, worth billions of naira, will go into that hospital very soon. Hopefully in the next couple of months, that hospital will become operational.
Joining the Chief of Defense Staff on the visit was prominent philanthropist Paul Odili, who donated 2 million naira each to 75 wounded troops. He announced plans to equip the military hospital with state-of-the-art surgical equipment and pledged to provide 3-bedroom homes for 20 severely wounded personnel, underscoring his continued dedication to honoring and supporting Nigeria's wounded heroes.
Today, I'm giving them fund for 20 houses for each of these families, so that when they leave the hospital, they can go back to a place they can call home.
While acknowledging that significant challenges persist, the defense chief affirmed that Nigeria is steadily progressing towards lasting peace and security. He emphasized the importance of sustained civil-military cooperation and urged all Nigerians to unite in the collective fight against terrorism and other forms of criminality. Solomon Josiah, TV360, Borno.
Let's pause for a quick break. Coming up on News Now, 7 people reported dead following 3 days of protests in Togo. That's according to human rights groups. Stay with us for details.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Let's briefly take you through our main stories. 4 mobile police officers have been reportedly killed by marauding herdsmen at Uday community in Guma local council area of Benue State on Sunday. Local sources say the incident occurred around 3 p.m. when police officers responded to a distress call from residents about suspicious movement in the area. We also told you that following Abdullahi Ganduje's resignation, Ali Bukar Daluri has taken over as acting national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Daluri told the party's working committee he accepted the role with humility, responsibility and loyalty. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limes World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. Let's switch gears to business news. Tamilare Akikwoliye has details. Over to you, Tamilare.
Thank you, Simiel, and welcome to Business News. Now, after decades of complex, fragmented, and inefficient tax policies, Nigeria is finally rewriting the rules. The signing of the new tax bills comes nearly 2 years after President Tinubu approved the establishment of a Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms on July 7, 2023. Experts have commended the move, describing it as one of the most significant pieces of legislation to emerge from Nigeria in recent years. TV360's Okmayemi Owosheni has more details in this next report.
Taxation has long been more than a matter of revenue in Nigeria. It often determines the survival of small businesses grappling with inconsistent regulations, overlapping authorities, and aggressive enforcement practices. However, transformation is underway with the recent signing of 4 landmark tax reform bills by President Bola Tinubu, hailed as the boldest tax overhaul in decades. The newly enacted laws aim to streamline tax administration, eliminate duplication, and expand the formal tax net to include more individuals and businesses, marking a significant step towards a more efficient and equitable tax system.
What you must land with is the hope to develop the people and show the right character towards the destination. We are in transit. We have changed the road. We have changed some of the misgivings. We have opened the door for new economy, business opportunity. We are showing that Nigeria is truly ready and open for business.
The government says the goal isn't to raise the tax rate. The chairman of the committee, Taiwo Oyedele, described the newly signed tax laws as pro-poor, saying they will ease the burden on low-income earners, small business owners, and everyday Nigerians.
These reforms are not about raising more taxes. I think people get it wrong. A lot of people, including analysts and commentators, will say, oh, where are they going to get the more taxes from? Nigerians are poor. This is exactly trying to relieve people of the burden of taxes. These tax laws, they are now laws, are pro-poor in particular. More than 1/3 of workers in both the private and public sector will now be exempted completely from PAYE. They will not have to pay personal income tax.
At the heart of the reform is the Nigeria Tax Bill, which consolidates multiple tax laws into one framework. Notably, small businesses earning under 50 million naira annually will be exempt from company income tax, an initiative experts view positively. There are hopes that these new laws will broaden the tax base and improve collection rates.
This is one of the best pieces of legislation I've seen come out of this country in a very long time, and I'm typically not very generous with praise. Typically, but this has to be praised. Today, a number of registered taxpayers, you go to FIRS and check that out, the new NRS, you find that if you look at those same numbers 2 years from now, 3 years from now, there's going to be a significant jump because the effort, what also, we have to remember that within these laws, the new tax administration law, there's a lot of reliance on automation and technology.
However, experts caution that implementation may prove challenging, citing the need for strong institutional capacity, clear communication, and cooperation across federal and state tax authorities.
One of the significant challenges I fear is redundancy. Redundancies in most of those organizations, the agencies that are currently they're still collecting revenue for government. If they are unable to restructure them correctly, then there might be redundancies, and that's not too good for us also. But if we're able to implement it very well, those redundancies will be well managed to our advantage.
To foster public trust, the reforms introduce key accountability mechanisms, including a tax appeal tribunal for addressing disputes and a tax ombudsman to investigate taxpayer complaints. With implementation scheduled for January 1, 2026, the next 6 months will be critical for laying the groundwork. Okpeyemi Owosheni, TV360 News, Lagos.
We'll take a break here and be back with Stock Market Report. Unlike last week's performance, the Nigerian Exchange opened the first weekday of trading and the final trading day in the month of June on a negative note, with the market dipping marginally by 0.01%. This slight loss dragged the market capitalization down to 75.96 trillion, while the all-share index closed lower by 119 basis points. Len Africa topped the list of losers today, closing at 4.59 naira, down from 5.10 naira. It was closely followed by Julius Berger, which ended the trading at 112 naira. Now, despite the market's red close, investors actively remained relatively strong. A total of 128 equities participated in today's session, resulting in 32 gainers and 31 losers, showing a near balance in the market breadth. At the end of the day, over 1 billion volumes of shares were exchanged in 25,171 deals, with a total transaction value of 43 billion naira. Now, turning to the global scene, it was a mixed trading day for the major international indices. The UK FTSE mirrored Nigeria's market sentiment, closing in the red. However, the US Dow Jones and Japan's Nikkei both closed positively, staying firmly in the green. On the currency front, the Naira has remained stable on the black market since last week. However, on the official window, it continues to fluctuate as displayed on the screen behind me. The Naira traded at the US dollar today at 1,611 naira, the Great British Pound at 2,060 naira, and the euros at 1,762 naira. And that's it on both business and stock market updates. Back to you, Simi, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Amilara. And civic rights groups in Togo say at least 7 people have been killed during a crackdown on protesters who are calling for the nation's leader, Faure Gnassingbé, to step down and release political prisoners. The protest erupted just weeks after Gnassingbé, who has been president for 2 decades and whose family has held power for 58 years, was sworn in as president of the Council of Ministers, a position with no official term limits. The Togolese government has threatened legal action against the protest organizers, denouncing the demonstrations as a campaign of disinformation and hatred allegedly orchestrated from abroad. And on sports, Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf has thanked the wife of the president, Oluremi Tinubu, for donating 110 million naira to the families of 22 athletes who lost their lives in a tragic road accident while returning from the National Sports Festival held in Ogun State, where they had won multiple medals. A delegation from the office of the First Lady, led by the wife of the Deputy Senate President, Leila Barao Jibrin, visited Kano to deliver a condolence message and hand over the donation to the state government for onward disbursement. In a statement signed by his chief press secretary, the governor commended the First Lady's gesture, describing it as an act of compassion and national solidarity. And that's it on News Now. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.